Good morning, everyone. For those who've joined, my name is Grace, and I'm here with Aaron. We will be both co-presenting for the Care Navigator user group call today. We're going to start just a couple minutes after the half hour to give folks that are still coming in some time to join. Aaron will be taking us through some demonstrations and reviewing the agenda. And a reminder, this video will be both recorded and available on our website early next week. And we'll be sending out the slides and the specific detail for how to access that probably around Tuesday of next week. So we'll send that directly to everyone who's participated. We will have, like we do each time, a chat box where you can submit any questions, any things that you'd like to discuss. We will also be opening up the floor at the end of the call to review any additional questions that folks have, or if people have specific demonstrations that they'd like to see, we reserve some time at the end for that. So welcome everyone and happy Friday, and we're going to hang tight for a couple more minutes and then we'll begin. Hey everyone, my name is Grace for those who have just joined, and I'm here with Aaron, who will be doing the brunt of the demonstration today for Care Navigator. We are going to start. I see people are still trickling in, but we're going to start because we have a pretty lofty agenda today. Aaron, do you want to take us away with just reviewing the agenda?
Certainly. All right. Hello, everyone. Just going to go over some of the agenda items. Of course, the jets are going over in just a moment, so bear with me. So for the system demos today, we're going to do the review of care team member fields. We're going to do a little overview of active and inactive care team members and how to reactivate care team members. We're going to go over some information regarding locked fields and what fields are claim fed and what we cannot alter. We've had a lot of requests for desktop app, so we're just going to go over how to request that. And then we have the requirements for desktop app because they're a little bit different from the website or hub requirements. And then we have some tips for staying active in Care Navigator. And then we have, as always, kind of a standing item, the overview of the OneCare resources that we offer, because we do have some tutorials on our website, and we're just going to have a reminder of that. And of course, as Grace mentioned, at the end, some questions, time for question and demo request. All right, so I will get started. Give me a moment. I'm going to pull up Care Navigator.
And just a reminder for folks, I'll be monitoring our Q&A. We have that option so that if you have a question or if you need us to slow down or if you need us to go back to something, just put that right in the message board and I will be monitoring it and we can help out with whatever questions come through.
All right, thanks, Grace. Okay, so here I am at the Care Navigator home screen. This is staging, which means that it's our testing environment, so there is no live patient data, which is always obviously important, but I'd like to mention that. So I'm just going to do a little snapshot of what the care coordination fields are. So I'm going to navigate from the Care Navigator tab to the patient, kind of the patient icon here. It's going to pull up a list of all of my active patients, or all of the active patients. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to look for Gail. So I'm going to select right here, I just typed in Gail. And I'm going to click right in between the words right in the blue tab. And you can see all of her information here. Hold on a minute. I'm going to go back to this. Okay. Just 1 minute. Sometimes the staging environment can be a little bit laggy. So I'm going to go down. You can see the care coordination field right here. I'm going to click that to open. And once you scroll down, we kind of have the header here, and it has the breakdown of some of the care coordination items that I'm sure our folks are familiar with. And I'm going to scroll down to where the care coordination fields are. So this is where the care team members field is. I'm just going to go over some items here. Excuse me. Right here is just a snapshot. So we have a snapshot of the lead CC and the PCP. And I'm just going to go over and kind of shout out that there is a lock field here. So this is not where you would edit any of this information. It's just mere snapshot of the lead care coordinator and the primary care provider. So this is not where you would add or change anything. This is just an overview. I will call attention that we have kind of upgraded our system a little bit, where we wanted to call out, before this was the care coordination team field was down below a little bit, and it didn't have this on the tab. So we brought this up to the forefront so folks would have a little bit more ease of use. So this is where all the care team members are. These are the active folks on the patient's care team. Therefore, it's the current care team field. And you can see, you can scroll down and kind of go from here. This is also a snapshot view. When you want to go and edit any of this information or kind of do a deeper dive, you would want to navigate to this grid field. Again, we're in the current care team window, and this is the associated view button. It's this little grid button right here. I'm going to click that. And you can see here all of the active connections for the patient here. So you can see the active patients. Just gonna kind of review this a little bit. So this is the care team member's name. You can see Danielle Palmer. That's their legal business name. So that's the organization that they're associated with. This is what role they take in the patient's care team. So you can see that Danielle is the care coordinator here, and she's a care team member. And you can see right here that Danielle is, yes, the lead care coordinator on this one. So that's a little overview of that. And I'm going to just go back here, press the back button. And a little bit later, I'll show you how to reactivate care team members, but I just kind of want to cover the care coordinator fields on this one first. My goodness. Okay.
And I like to remind people, it seems obvious at times, but we are in a staging environment, so there's no patient information that we're showing. It's all, Gail is not a patient, she's a test patient. And so I like to just make sure that we say that again, just that we're being compliant with that. We've got some questions before where there was some concern, and so we always are in the staging environment for that purpose.
All right. So I'm just going to call out this just to cover these important tabs that we get a lot of questions about. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I missed a question that came in.
Oh, sorry. Sure.
Sorry. No, it's not your fault. It's mine. So we had from Kelsey, when do we choose care manager versus care coordinator?
So I honestly, I don't know. Grace, maybe you can help a little bit with this. I feel like the default is care coordinator. Always. I'm not sure of any instances where people would be a care manager other than maybe identifying that person as their lead CC. What's your thoughts, Grace?
Yeah, so we've always, it's sometimes for organizations, it's semantics with how they call the care coordinator. What we've always done historically is the primary term is care coordinator and lead care coordinator. Care manager, I think, is something that's used for some of our organizations, depending on the organization type, but it doesn't impact the data at all within the system. They're still a care team member, and so if you have a preference, you're welcome to choose either or. But to my knowledge, there's no distinction, and it doesn't impact the data at all. And I can also, what we try to do is take questions that are a little bit more specific to care coordination best practices, and I bring them to our care coordination team after this call. And so I can include that in the notes back to folks.
Perfect.
And I can get that in there, Kelsey, for you just to confirm, but that was my understanding.
All right.
And then I got one more, sorry.
No.
It would be great if we could click on the care coordinator list and actually connect a notification from that field. That might be a some feedback with regards to the system workflow, which is most certainly something that we like to hear, and we can look to, I don't know who that is because it was put as anonymous, but if you want to connect with me offline, I'd be happy to talk a little bit more about that and see if it's something that we could look into with our vendor.
Perfect. Thank you.
I got one more.
That's what we're here for.
Yep. A patient client of ours selected her PCP for the lead CC, but when adding the PCP as the lead CC, there was no option or a checkbox, and the PCP was listed as non-ACO. Is there a workaround since this is who the client wants as a lead care coordinator? Great question, Jean. That's something that I would like to direct right to our care coordination team, because that is the actual workflow, and Erin and I could speak on what we believe that is to be true, but I really want the team that's responsible for it to answer that. So I have your full name, which is helpful, and I will connect with you offline, and I'll also include the answers to some of these questions within the notes for our email that we send out, because while they might be specific to one person, they could help for some other use cases that folks are having. So I will get back to you on that one, Jean.
That's a good one, and we get it often. We always direct it right to care coordination because they're experts on that workflow. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. So oftentimes you'll kind of see that these questions or these demos are frequently asked questions in the help desk. So oftentimes we get folks saying, why can't I find somebody on a care team? I think that they might have been on the care team prior. They might be inactive. How can I search for this person, or I can't find this person on the care team? So oftentimes they get moved to a patient's inactive care team member list, and therefore they will appear as if they're disconnected. So I'll just show you how to search for a Care Navigator user and to see if they're inactive versus active, and to see how you can reactivate them on a care team if they are an active Care Navigator user. I know that sounded a little confusing, but I will do the demo and hopefully provide some clarity on that. So I'm going to search right now for a Care Navigator user. So I'm going to navigate. So from the Care Navigator tab up here on the top, I'm going to navigate to CN users. Okay. I know this looks a little bit strange because, again, we are in the testing environment, so it doesn't look as robust as a normal dashboard would look. So I'm just going to go and down here, and we can see all of the active users. So we can see Joan, and we can see Danielle up here, and then we can go and see for any inactive users here. So this is active users by HSA. You do this little toggle button with the drop down, and you're going to select inactive users. So if you cannot find anybody on here and you say, I don't know if they're active or if they're even in Care Navigator, you can check to see by selecting inactive users. And you can see all the inactive users here. So say, for instance, you were looking for Andrea and you couldn't search for her. You can see that Andrea is here inactive. And what that means is that by any chance, they might have been deactivated for non-use, or maybe their organization had let us know that they have moved on from that organization. There's various reasons why someone might be inactive, but we also just keep in mind that if you can't search for somebody, it might be because they have become inactive. So you can see that by, again, toggling right here and see the active users versus inactive users. All right, so I'm going to go back to patients. If anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer it too.
I haven't gotten any yet.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to go back to Gail and kind of show you how to, if there's somebody that's inactive on a care team, how to reactivate that care team member. Go to patients. I'm going to search for Gail again up here in the search bar. And again, I'm just going to click in between the words here, right on the blue. We have Gail with her lovely picture here. And I'm going to go down to our care coordination tab. All right. So I'm going to, like I showed you before, so we're at the current care team field. And I'm going to click the associated view, a little grid button here. And again, the active connections for patient. And these are all the folks that are currently on the care team. And if you do the little toggle button to select a view, it's going to drop down and it's going to give you various kind of selections here. You want to do an active connection associated view. So this is to see anybody that might have been on a care team and might have been inactivated. That might be the patient no longer works with the folks, or they might have left the organization. But oftentimes we get folks that come back on the care team. So I'm going to show you how to reactivate that. So you can see here, these are all the inactive connections. So these are folks that have been on the care team, but are no longer on the care team. Let's say that we want to reactivate myself on the care team. So I was no longer on the care team, but I want to be connected with the patient again. So I'm going to show you how to reactivate yourself. What you want to do is click right here. So there's a little check mark that comes up. You can see that. I'm just going to click off of it. So you can do the little check mark by your name. And you're going to click activate. And it's going to give you this little pop-up and say, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Apparently it takes a minute. There we are. All right. So as you can see, I am removed from the inactive list. And if you toggle back to the active connections, you can see that now I appear back on as an active care team member. So oftentimes if we have people that are disconnected, it's because they might have left the care team, and you just kind of toggle back and see if they are inactive, and you can just activate them by checking their name on the left. All right. I don't know if, Grace, do we have any questions yet? Very good.
Nope, we're still good.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to go over some locked fields that we have, because we get some questions coming in oftentimes about, hey, Gail's name is not spelled correctly or her date of birth is off. Can we change that? So to answer your question, some of the items are claims fed. That's how we get the information into Care Navigator. And we cannot alter that because it's directly from the payer. So I'm just going to open and show you some of those items. So here, this is just the patient detail. And anything that has a locked field, those are items that we cannot alter. So items such as their first, last name, date of birth, we have their gender. Some of that information cannot be altered, but you can see that you can alter it. Anything that has no lock on it, you can alter. So that's some claim fed data. And then we have the address here, again, with the lock button. Those are items that we cannot alter. And I would say that there are some items such as patients' goals and tasks. I know we've had some questions about altering those. Some items such as that do have a lock button on them for the user, but those are items that we are working on to see if we can have those be altered by the user that puts in that information. But if you have any questions regarding that, you can always email the help desk, and we can let you know some items we can alter ourselves at help desk. So feel free to email us any of those questions. And then, let's see, I'm just going to go down here. All right. So the next, some items we have are, we've had some questions about how to request the mobile access. I'm just going to pull up here, just one moment. Okay. All right. And just to go over, we've had some questions about or inquiries about the mobile or desktop app. And just to remind you, I know this is switching gears from a Care Navigator demo to a PowerPoint, but just wanted to go over some items that are to do for wanting the desktop or mobile app. You do have to be an active Care Navigator user. So you already will have to be in Care Navigator itself, so the website. You also have to have a valid and current system access form on file. And if you are an active user in Care Navigator and you would like the desktop or phone app, you will have to email help desk first. You can't just download the app and access it. You'll have to email the help desk because there are some background items that we have to do to turn on that ability for you. So again, you will have to be an active Care Navigator user, and then you will have to email OneCare help desk and let us know that you would like to access the mobile or desktop app. From there, we will ask you for a secondary email or phone number for our second factor authentication. And then to ensure that your computer or phone meet all the requirements. So just to go over what those requirements are. And this is kind of tricky because I know some folks have some access issues with their IT, not allowing them to download it. That's something that you'll have to discuss with your IT folks. I know there's some access questions, and that's something that needs to be worked out within the organization. But if you do have access to the App Store on your computer, you will have to have at least Windows 10 on your computer. And then for the mobile app, of course, you have to have access to the smartphone device if you want it. And then for that, you would have to have for Apple or iPhones, you would have to have iOS 11.3 or later. And then Android requires the 8.0 or later. All right, does anybody have any questions about the desktop or mobile app? It's pretty straightforward, maybe.
Nope, no questions yet about that.
All right. Cool. All right, so to kind of bounce off what the active versus inactive Care Navigator users, we have some tips for staying active in Care Navigator. So just as a reminder, any folks who are inactive for 90 days, we do a deactivation without warning just for compliance purposes. So if anybody is inactive over 90 days, we do deactivate without warning for compliance. So to avoid that, we like to suggest that folks log in at least once a week or at least monthly to retain access. And of course, we just welcome folks to use it as much as you can. And of note, when you do become deactivated from Care Navigator, it removes you from all of your care team connections. So you'll have to go in and manually reconnect yourself to all of the patients that you're associated with. And that is something that is the responsibility of the user. So that can certainly be an incentive to get in at least monthly, set a calendar reminder, whatever you need to do to avoid that. And just to reiterate, it certainly can be difficult to add yourself back to all of the care teams. It can be very cumbersome to do that because there's not a bulk way to do that. So you cannot bulk add yourself back to all of your care teams. It's very manual. So we just like to remind folks of that. And then I'm going to just bounce back to Care Navigator in just a moment. We like to always review the resources available to folks should they need that. Again, help desk is always welcome. We always welcome folks to reach out to us for any questions or concerns. But we also like to point folks to some self-service tools that we find are very helpful. A lot of frequently asked questions are found here. And we also have some modules that are visual as well as PDFs that really provide a robust step-by-step process of how to do everything. So I'm just going to toggle back to Care Navigator here for just a moment. Okay. So there is a self-service tool right here in Care Navigator. I'm not sure if folks notice, but there is a question mark right up here, and it has a little desperate help label on it. So if you click the question mark, sometimes it does this. Okay. There we go. It pops up. Just one moment. Sometimes staging makes an error first. Okay. So right here, you can see that it has a little question, contact information for help desk right here. And then you can also click here for Care Navigator resources. All right, just one moment. So from that question mark, once you hit Care Navigator resources, it will pop you right to, this is a public website. It's our public OneCare website. And that question mark will direct you right to this homepage that we have for a lot of support tools. I'm not going to go over everything, but hold on just one moment. Whoop. But just to kind of shout out some information on here. I don't know why this is doing this. Okay, let me pull it up a different way. So again, that was the question mark that would pop up to this website, but I'm also going to pull it up a different way because it seems that my computer does not like it that way. Okay, just one moment here. Okay, perfect. So this is also one way you can get to it as well. So again, the question mark, and then you can just go to our OneCare website. So that's onecarevt.org. And this is our home screen. And right with the About section, so this is the top screen here, the menu. I'm going to navigate to the Care Navigator support and click that. And this will bring you right back to where the question mark brings you to. So this has some information about care coordination as well as Care Navigator itself. It's going to give me an error again. It's not letting me scroll. Okay, perfect. So just to shout out some resources we have on here. So the Care Navigator access tools, this has our request for access. So this is a tool where you can request access to Care Navigator or Portal or Workbench One. And we have the fillable form and just our contact information here. I'm not sure why it's being like this. Okay. And then we have, just a shout out, we have some of our modules on here. So we have information about the care coordination payment model. We have our resource guide, our user guide. That's a very detailed document that you just click here and it'll open up the PDF. We have all of our user group calls are posted on here. We post that later after our call. We'll post them right on this website, and that's the recording. And then we have just some information, our frequently asked questions of how to add a care team member, how to add a non-ACO care team member, the filtering, modifying care teams, adding goals and tasks. So we do, as you can see, we do have a lot of information on here. And again, they are the actual video as well as a detailed instruction PDF that's attached. If you just click this button, it will open up and give you a step-by-step process. So we'd just like to shout that out as a resource. Again, you're always welcome to reach out to our help desk, but we do also have these self-service tools. If you just find that you're getting stuck on something, we have all this information right on the website as well. Any questions or?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
I have a question and I'm echoing. Can you hear that?
No, I can't.
I'm going to mute you just for 1 second and see if that helps. So Kelsey, that helped. Kelsey asked with regards to the difference between, and then we would go back into Care Navigator, engaged versus the star follow button, and do they do different things?
So I'm not sure I'm understanding that question. So do you mean on the patient's profile, the engaged? Let me see if I can navigate to that. Are you speaking on this kind of information, or I'm not sure if I understand that correctly. If maybe you can type out what section you're questioning.
I recall Robin speaking. Robin is one of our members of the care coordination team. I remember her speaking to the star follow button. So it's typically, in my understanding, I'll have to confirm this with our care coordination team. And Erin, if this jolts anything for you, step in. But I felt like the follow star button was for patients that weren't actively engaged in care coordination, but might be in the upcoming days or months, and that for some individuals that aren't actively on the care team, they still wanted to be able to follow those individuals and to see how their care was progressing, if there were any updates within the Care Navigator system. I felt like that's what it was with regards to Robin's input. And Kelsey just responded and said, engaged. Do we have to change it to engage when we are engaged with the patient?
I would probably defer that to the care coordination workflow as well. But typically, yes, I don't want to speak for them, but yes, typically you would change it if the patient is engaged. You would change it if they're engaged, actively engaged in care coordination. Again, that would probably be a care coordination workflow. I don't want to defer everything to them, but that's kind of a workflow question.
How do you change that field? Can you click on it?
If that's something that you would change
within the care coordination section.
Right.
And then right there in the middle, go up, engaged.
Right. Yep.
And so engaged tells me that there's actively someone care coordinating for this patient, and you're in the process of establishing 2 goals and 2 tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what sets that patient and communicates that that patient is engaged in some type of activity. And so I would say, yes, you do need to select engage if you're working with the patient, because that will also trigger not only payments, but it will also trigger communication with other organizations that might have some care coordination interactions with the patient too. And Kelsey, I'll include that in the questions that I'm going to send to Robin, so that if she can more eloquently provide you with the care coordination workflow for clarity.
And as for the star and follow button that you see up here, I believe that's another question. Yep. So the star and follow button, you can just see it toggles on and off. So if you do that, and you go back to your home screen, in Care Navigator, what that does is it'll bring Juliet's information right to my dashboard. So if you click the follow button, you will see it brings Juliet's in the what's new section. It will bring her information to this front what's new kind of section. So this is maybe patients that you want to follow a little bit more closely. So say if Juliet is a high risk, you want to see all of her information right when you first log in and say, what is Juliet up to? You would click the follow button and that would bring their information right to your dashboard. So you can see here I follow one patient, and that was just by toggling the follow button, and Juliet's information is right on here. So it's basically as if any kind of like social media feed, that's kind of what it's designed as, is that you want to follow somebody, so you want to see their information right as you get in, and that's what it's designed as.
Thanks, Erin. And I did follow back up with Kelsey, and I think we got the majority of the information she was looking for, but I'm also going to include in Robin so that she can speak to her directly.
Perfect. Okay. Is there anything else maybe?
Let me just double check. Nope.
Okay. So that was it for the demos and the kind of overview. I didn't want to like cut this presentation short, but if there is anybody that wants any certain demos or something that you want me to try to dive a little bit deeper in, this is the time to do so. So I'd open it up to any maybe demo requests or any other questions.
Sure. We'll hold just for a few minutes, folks. And if you put them in the chat, we can bring it up. We'll probably wait 5 minutes or so, and then we'll wish everyone a nice afternoon and a nice weekend. So we have a request for showing how to add a note. And I think some of the questions that I've been getting, Erin, that I've been able to answer are with regards to, so we have these data fed fields, so
Sure.
A patient's address, a patient's date of birth.
Yep.
And we periodically get updates from our payers for that data. It really varies by payer. But we had some folks say, well, what if a patient moves? And the recommendation that we have is inputting a note so that that can be documented within the record. It won't update the address field at all because that's a data fed field that we're not able to alter, but at least it will put a note that any other care team member can see and be aware of. And so I think that might be where this is just coming from, of where you would enter a note.
Perfect. Okay. So where you would enter a note, let me just toggle here. So typically, I'm thinking of several places where you can enter a note. I would say that mainly, I don't know if Grace wants to correct me on this, I would send a notification. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to, but what are your thoughts, Grace?
Yeah, we can show that too.
Okay, perfect. So typically I would send a notification if anybody, if there's anything that I want the whole care team to know. So I'm just thinking that's usually the best or the thought that I would kind of go to. So I would select, again, I'm just going to go back and show you, send notification.
And that would be because someone asked me if a patient was deceased.
Yep.
That's sending a notification for an event like that is something I would most certainly recommend sending a notification to everyone on the care team.
Right.
And so that's a good example to show, Erin.
Okay. So I'm going to write, again, I just select notify. I'm just going to say notify and just say, I don't want to say that she's deceased, but I'm going to say patient was admitted to ED with this is my go-to, chest pain. So this is how I would send a notification to all of the care team members. And you can actually select all, or you can select certain folks. So again, this is, I want to notify them. I'm going to enter the message and I'm going to send Danielle this message. Or you can select all and say, I want everybody on this care team to know that Gail went to the ED last night. So I'm going to select all for this one, I'll say, and I'm going to send. And that's going to send an email to everybody on their care team stating the note that I just entered into Gail's information here. So you can see everybody it sent to and what the information was. I'm going to do OK. All right.
Could you also input for workflow in the encounter log? Is that another workflow that we might, like for something that isn't urgent that you don't need to send everyone an email for? Is that something that we could document there of?
Certainly.
Like patient moved or patient?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So again, I just pressed, I'm just going to minimize this for a minute or exit this. So I'm going to go down to the encounter log. This is another place where you can enter information. And I'm going to press the plus button here. And here you can enter any notes that you would like to add. So I'm just going to do, this is care management. And I'm just going to say, let's say, other. And here I'm just going to put a brief note and say, patient is moving out of area. Just going to leave it at that. So you'll see here, I'm going to do care management. These are the required fields marked by the asterisk. And I'm just going to do the other and then put the note here as well. I always think of like instantaneous. I want to notify everybody right away, but this is also another place where you can see it as well. Okay.
Perfect. A couple more. I don't know the answer to this, Erin, and we might need to ask the vendor, but we were asked, how do you change your notifications to not receive emails? And Kelsey, I have two chains of thought. One, what we just showed, if you're looking for a way to just send a message that resonates within the patient's chart.
Yep.
The encounter log is an option where it doesn't manually send you an email about it, whereas the notification is a little bit more urgent, I think of, and that will send an email.
Right.
If that's what you're speaking to, then I think we've answered it. If that isn't, please just send me a message and we can kind of dive in a little bit more to see kind of how else we could answer that for you.
Right. Okay.
I got a couple more. So how do I remove myself from a client that I have discharged from my caseload?
Perfect. Okay.
And I think this person just came in a little bit late, so she just missed the visual of it.
That's okay. We can do it again. So I'm just going to go, I like to just reset my view here. Just one moment. Sorry, again, sometimes it's a little bit choppy with staging. So again, I'm just going to navigate down to the care coordination tab. So I'm going to click that to expand it. And I'm going to go to the current care team field and do the associated view grid button. And so much like in activating yourself, you can also deactivate yourself this way. So I'm going to go ahead. So we see the active connections for patient here. I'm going to click to the left. There's a little check mark. And I'm going to click that. And you'll see all of a sudden these options pop up. So I'm going to, we always say deactivate rather than delete connection, because that takes the care team member off completely. We always kind of speak to deactivating yourself in case you become activated again. So I'm just going to deactivate myself. So I checked to the left of my name and I hit deactivate. And it's going to prompt you, I'm going to just right here, it's going to prompt you to say, what is the reason? So I'm going to say, no longer, or you can even say like discharged from care. Okay. Give it a minute to kind of cycle through here. And it's going to say care team member is deactivated and notification sent. So it's going to say that would prompt an email to your email box, and it would say you have been removed from Gail Matthews' care team. So we're going to do OK. And just to kind of reiterate, I would pause if you're doing it for someone else. This is really meant to deactivate yourself. And that little prompt when you deactivate someone is just to kind of be meant for a pause to say, like, is this really necessary in case that you're deactivating somebody else, because a conversation probably needs to happen before you deactivate any other care team members to ensure that that's the correct process or the necessary situation. So I'm going to kind of toggle back here. So these are the active care team members, and I'm going to toggle back to inactive connection associated view to just kind of see and make sure that I was deactivated. So you can see here, Aaron Covey, and I am now inactive. And what that looks like on Gail Matthews' homepage, I'm just going to click back here and show you where you can see kind of a snapshot of any changes. Just one second here. Sorry, again, the staging environment sometimes is a little clunky.
I think it's also because we're broadcasting through Teams. It also does slow down everything. So it is what it is. You know.
Let's try it a different way. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what that looks like on this patient dashboard, as I call it. So I'm going to toggle down to the care coordination part of the dashboard. And then you can see right here, we have the active care team members. And you can see right here, I didn't show up, but maybe it created on one second here. Maybe this is a part that's not working in staging. Note that, Grace. But when I or anyone removes somebody, they will show up here. So in the live version of Care Navigator, when you deactivate a care team member, it will show you any information on here. So I believe that I was a lead CC, so it should show any lead CC change history right here, and any information on if you change a care team member.
I think I got a quick question, and I thought I knew the amount, but I don't want to misspeak, Aaron, but there is a limit to the number of characters allowed within an encounter note. Do we know what that limit is? Because we had a good recommendation, and I had thought it was listed so that folks knew when they were going to run out of space.
Okay.
If we could just check that out. And Jean, it's a good point. I felt like it was 2,000 characters, but I'll have to follow up and just see if there's a way for us to display that so that you guys know when you're reaching kind of the max of what you can document within that.
Okay, I'm wondering if I'm just gonna see if it says it right in the encounter log. I'm just gonna quickly see if it says it. Sometimes it says 0 out of X number. All right. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
No problem. I'm fairly certain it's 2,000.
Okay.
And what we'll do, Jean, is follow up. We'll get that number, and then we'll see if there's a mechanism so that folks know when they're typing how much more they can type. Just make a note of that quickly.
Perfect.
So then the other question I had, Erin, if it's okay to move on,
Yep,
is from Bonnie with regards to the creation of a shared care plan.
okay.
And I specified kind of what steps she's looking for, because that's a large process, but the initial steps in the creation of a shared care plan and what that looks like.
Okay. So I'm going to go down to the care plan field in the patient dashboard. I'm going to click the plus button. Okay. And so it will pop up with the new tasks right here. Just to go over, I will just do a brief overview of what this looks like. So we have the goals versus tasks. So we always just do, if you're initiating a first goal, this is kind of like the process that it'll go through with you. So we have goal category, which is a searchable field. I'm going to just make kind of a demo one. So I'm going to just select for this goal as education. I'm going to select this is a personal goal, and the activity name would be self. And I'm going to assign this to Gail. No. Where? Sorry, this is not working for me very well. It's very laggy on my end. Okay. So basically, you would assign this to the patient, and then you can go in and add tasks. So this is where you would add any other tasks or any other associated with the goal itself. And again, you would just want to make sure that you click off all of the required fields, and then I don't know why it's not doing this for me. But typically you would assign this to the patient. There we go, the patient. And then I'm going to click save. And then from here you can add the tasks. So if you were to add any of like go to a diabetes self-management class or go to a chronic pain class, so you would add that to this goal itself. So again, just in the task field, I hit the plus button and it's gonna prompt me to another pop-up window where we would add the specific tasks associated with that self-management education goal. I'm hoping that kind of quick overview explains it a little bit more, but let me know if you need a little bit more information.
I think that's a good start, Erin. And Bonnie, we can connect a little bit further offline with any additional things you'd like to see. I've got one more that's come in. So I'll give you a second just to
get out of here.
And so we have someone, Sue, who has tried to add a PCP under the care team tab.
Okay.
But is finding that it doesn't show up on the left side, which has a lock. How do I add the PCP in this field? And I think we had a similar question to that, but at least we could bring it up.
Sure. I'm thinking that you might be referring to, just one moment. I have a lot of tabs open on that. I'm thinking that you're referring to under the care coordination section. You might be referring to the left side here.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So you cannot edit typically you can't edit the PCP in general in Care Navigator, just because that is a, correct me if I'm wrong, Grace, a claims
It
fed
is.
field. Okay, so
So
you cannot.
that's designated by the payer.
Perfect.
But Sue, if you're trying, so if the reality is that this patient current PCP is not Dr. Sandra, whatever that person's name is, it's
Sandra
too small
Jones.
for me to see.
Okay.
You can document, if you want to add them to the care team, you can document in that fashion to the right, I believe, Aaron, and that would be the non-ACO kind of route that you can input. But if a patient is saying, no, that's not my PCP, can you update it? Unfortunately, that is what is listed from our payers. And so there's kind of a lag in terms of updating for that. And it really just depends on Medicare, Medicaid, and Blue Cross Blue Shield and MVP and when they update that information.
And I think that that would be something that I would say would be applicable in like a note section, just to have on file and state that patient has changed from PCP, has changed to Dr. Smith. I would say that that would be applicable to have in a note section. But as for the care coordination field, no, you cannot edit that.
And I guess in one case, Sue is stating that that field is blank. And so that isn't uncommon either with regards to sometimes there is no PCP because the patient, it's all dependent upon the look back period for claims, which this gets a little bit nitty gritty into analytics realm, but unfortunately, the look back period, if that patient hadn't established care with a PCP in that 2-year look back, or perhaps they didn't have any engagement until a little bit later in the year, that will come up as blank. And so unfortunately, it's not something we can change, but to Aaron's statement, we have workarounds so that if a patient is truly engaged and has a PCP, that's important information that needs to be documented. And so you can use one of the two options. So if you feel it's important to share as a notification, you can send that out to everyone on the care team. You can add in a note, and I guess there's third, and you can also add them to the current care team so that you can at least see them in that right column that we have, the current care team that with the blue header or teal header.
Yep.
You can add them there, so at least there's something that will document that for the users and for the care team members engaging with that patient. Sure. And Sue, let me know if that's helpful or if you've got further questions. I'd be happy to connect further about that. And then let me just see. I think I got a couple. Okay, great. So when you suggest a new PCP on profile page, it'll appear if he locked area by care teams. I think that was just a comment to what we were speaking to. Yep. So Sue, it sounds like you're good. If you've got another question, please feel free to give us a call or send us an email. We'll be happy to get a little further into the detail with that. I think that was the last one, Aaron. I'm going to wait just because we've got a couple minutes before our call is up. Okay. Just see if anyone else has some questions. And just a reminder for folks, we'll be sending out, I already have a list of some of the questions that we've gotten today. Great questions and great engagement, and I thank you all for that. We'll be sending them over to the care coordination team so that we can get some answers directly to you guys, and then we'll put those responses for what they may be helpful for other use cases in our notes that we'll probably plan to send out next Tuesday. And we'll also include the link so that if you want to listen to another section of this recording, or if you joined late and you wanted to see if there are any items you missed that you wanted to hear, you can go back and review. And a reminder that our next call, let me just look at my calendar here, is coming up at the end of April. And what we do this week or next week, we'll be sending out a calendar invite in Outlook. And so I think a lot of times we send that out and folks don't really know what it's for. It'll say Care Navigator new user group call. And it's just as something to save on your Outlook calendar so that you remember the meeting, and it puts the time and date and link and everything. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be sending that out. And I still haven't gotten any questions, so I think we're good for the day. I hope everyone got a little bit of something from this today and has a great weekend. Enjoy the sun.
All right. Thank you so much.